Let's take a look. So I am over here on the Narc the Sun side, and just really quick at first glance, I am seeing AC-23 medium lasers. So streaks on the Stormcrow. So they are definitely bringing a brawly deck with those two Oxides as well. So let's see whether Narc the Sun is able to get on target quick enough. They do have Overwatch with dual Ultra AC-5, dual Ultra AC-10, ER small laser Kodiak 3s. And, of course, the Spirit Bear bringing Ultra AC-10 and then the 4 SRM-6. No Artemis. Well, it might be Artemis. I don't think it's Artemis, though. And then 2 medium pulse lasers. So, Brawls versus, what do we got? Range on the derp side?
Looks like a little bit of a poke deck, some large pulse lasers on the Enforcer, Grasshopper with large pulse, a Bounty Hunter with large pulse and medium lasers. I didn't even know you could put that many missiles on it. Or energy on it. I'm sorry. Why was I
We do have an initial Oxide already through Theta. He's aggressively pushed all the way through and is just kind of scouting it out, taking a look. With those large pulse lasers, he has to be careful, though. He might take a little bit of scratch from those guys. We did have a movement over to Epsilon with one of the derp mechs, and he's actually really caught out. They could potentially get over here and jump on this guy before he has a chance to get away, if they knew he was there. Obviously, Epsilon is flashing. But they're actually more concerned about bugging out of Theta after capping it and not taking any damage if possible, but they are getting pecked at by those large pulse.
And we have the Kodiaks engaging at Kappa right now.
So yes, we do have them coming around the corner. The Kodiaks are tossing some shots down. Nice Overwatch.
Coming in hard on derp here. They've got a Kodiak that's caught out from behind. He's got to get faster here.
Thankfully for him, he is on the high ground, and he should be able to get out if he goes, but he's actually holding fast. His name is Hold Fast. That's hilarious.
Yeah, his name
so
is
he is holding fast, and that might not be the best move here, because that Brawl team for Narc the Sun is getting up on top of him, and if they keep the pressure on, they'll be able to roll through him, but they actually stalled right at the top, and I think that might have just saved Hold Fast's life there. They do have good Overwatch, though, so they don't want to jump into this canyon. That would be suicide. Let's see where they can go from here. The Timber down to 87%, but he seems to be cored out.
He's got one shoulder wide open on that Timber, and that's it.
So that's could lose half
he
his
loses
mech
that
this
shoulder,
early on,
and he did lose that shoulder. That does hurt.
So Narc the Sun was coming in really aggressively, but then they stopped. They have the Streak Boat in the back chasing around the light mech here, and they might actually get on him and do some significant damage.
Narc the Sun now has the high ground, and this is going to be painful real quick here for derp if they don't do something about this.
That Streak Boat might be taking care of that Oxide pretty quick. He actually just got out, but the rest of them are fighting up top, and we got 2 mechs critically injured for Narc the Sun. One of them, the Kodiak 3, just went down, and that's a hard loss. And another quick drop, that Blackjack 1 has gone down as well.
And a team kill for derp.
Oh man, I think that was the Oxide actually that was being chased around by the Streak Boat. He has been taken out.
Yeah.
Damage very equal on both sides though. This is a hell of a fight, and the Grasshopper getting stuck on the rock a little bit, not able to get out of the Daka, and got completely wrecked. He's down to 28%, and if he doesn't get out of there quick, he is done. He is getting shot in the back though by an Oxide.
Yeah, those Oxides are harassing big time. Doing a great job right now keeping their harassing on.
It is 3-all right now. This is 3-all right now, and both teams have very critically injured. This is going to be a very, very close match here. Hunchback 2C down to 21%, and he gets killed. 2 quick kills for Narc the Sun, and we're down to 3 remaining mechs for derp. 2 now, and it's all up to the very weak Bounty Hunter and the very fresh Jenner 2C.
Yeah, this Jenner 2C needs to help us. Oh, and he doesn't get there in time. He's got to help
a tall order, but if he
that.
just jumps right into the middle of all these mechs, he is going to be toast. He's not really fighting. He's just trying to evade. The Oxide is on him. The Oxide is actually he is the freshest mech on Narc the Sun. And if he gets into a 1v1 against that Oxide, instead of taking out some of these weaker mechs.
Oh, and I don't know if taking out a Kodiak was the right thing to do there.
No, I think this is going to be over for derp, and Narc the Sun is going to take it 8-3.
Really felt like derp had a little bit of advantage there in the beginning, but Narc the Sun finally pushed over and was a little more effective once they got into that big brawl.
I do agree, and I think that Narc the Sun was a much more brawly team, and I feel like that stall out actually kind of cost them more mechs than it might have been worth. Look at the damage.
Yeah. Gosh, look at Faito with that Kodiak 3, 714 damage in 8v8, matched only by Hawk Bear Fury in the Kodiak 3. for Narc the Sun with 679 damage. Impressive play by those Kodiaks.
If you notice, the Oxide, the only Oxide for Derp, only pulling 60 damage, and he was getting chased around by that Stormcrow for what seemed like forever, just kind of skirmishing with that Stormcrow, basically being useless to the rest of his team while he's just running around. The Stormcrow doing his job. He doesn't necessarily need to kill the lights, but he got the lights out of the
fight. You guys are good to go. Thank you, gentlemen.
He got the lights out of the fight, and he was able to hold him to 60 damage, and ultimately I think he got team killed, which that's hurt.
Did.
But he was definitely hurt by those streaks.
Yeah.
There was also one of the Oxides was on him, pumping some missiles into him. So he did kite a bunch, and he did tie up the streak boat and an Oxide for a pretty decent amount of time. However, not pulling any damage really in an Oxide, that is costly. Oxide, one of the most
Very
powerful
costly.
lights in the game. Part of it could have been the lack of jump jets. Maybe there's only like one way to get back up in that central area where Derp was operating, and it was occupied by a big fat Kodiak. So your cam's off still. We want to see your pretty face, man. So, the Kodiak was operating on that ramp, and so even if the Oxide wanted to get back into the fight effectively, not having those jump jets, he really only has one or two choices, and at most. You have to walk through a hail of fire to get there, and I think maybe having the 2C would have allowed their lights to evade the crows a little bit better. Now, I want to say they had the Oxide and a 2C. The other team had dual Oxides, but those dual Oxides were doing work against the Oxide. They were on that level with him. They did have the 1-2C mech, and I think that 2C mech was effective and operating around the brawl, but they opted for the 1 Oxide, and the 1 Oxide was useless on this map. And I think there's a reason for that, and a lot of that has to do with not having the mobility, and it's very hard to get away from a Street Crow when you can't just jump up and over a hill and be gone. That entire conversation could have been over in seconds if he had a jump jet, but he was zipping around on the ground level, getting shot at by the streaks, and effectively was taken out of the fight. So, not saying the Oxide was necessarily a poor choice. I think the place he was operating the Oxide on the low ground of all things really cost him dearly.
Definitely.
And I think he could have done more work to help his team out. But Derp did a good job holding their ground. They were putting their shots on target, and I do think that Narc the Sun was kind of giving them a little bit of a freebie, charging up there like that, and then stopping. That Kodiak should have been wrecked.
Absolutely.
What was it? Hold fast. Hold fast, which
was holding fast.
He was holding fast, and then he got away with it.
He held fast, yeah.
It can obviously be intimidating when you walk up and you see a whole bunch of mechs aiming at you and docking you in the face and stuff, but you got to remember, you're a brawl team. You go up there, you armor share, and you get in there and you kill your entire enemy because you have weapon superiority.
And when they did get up there on that ridge, it really felt like the match started to swing in their favor.
Especially when they drove them to the low ground and they were able to just shoot down into the canyon. That could have happened much sooner. So Derp did a good job at holding them off, but ultimately it is a weapon superiority issue, and I feel like they could have gotten a lot more fire downfield before Narc the Sun was able to charge up on them like that. They had open ground to cover. They did have some DACA overwatch from Narc the Sun, and that, of course, helped suppress Derp. And I think maybe if they got more of those large pulse lasers up to that canyon wall and started really laying it into Narc the Sun, they could have maybe done even better, especially if Narc the Sun stalled out like they did after taking that much potential fire. Overall, though, I think it was a very intense fight, very close, and really the positioning halfway through the fight is where it started really going downhill for Derp, dropping into the low ground, getting swarmed by the Oxides, and that's really all she wrote. I talk to you guys as my team all the time, saying do not drop down unless there's like one mech left. Stay on the high ground, stay up there, because if you drop down, it's just it's a killing pit. You can't get back up fast enough as a team, and even if one guy gets out, well, then you've got just one mech to shoot at down below, and he's dead. So keeping high ground on this map can be essential unless you've got some sneaky ass movement where you can go low and get out. But every time we've seen people go low, it's been with bad results, almost
Absolutely.
90% of the time. So this map really, it's like stay up and die or drop and die harder. You got to make your decision and try and work it out. But yeah, just a really quick glance at the map here, just for generalized movements. We had an immediate move by DERP up here, and they actually got up to Delta 2. So this is where Hold Fast was operating, and they actually had some of their guys still back. I think the Bounty Hunter might have been having some issues getting up top. He operated down into D2 and came up the side. Then we had an immediate charge over here. They sent their dual oxides aggressively, and they probably came this way, but they came up through Theta and actually came all the way across. They sent one Charlie Lance over to Epsilon, and ultimately he rejoined the fight. But so you played a little bit of the Cap game, but really the biggest thing to pay attention to is just this charge through Kappa. Balls out, charge through Kappa, and then the stop. They stopped right on this ridge line and just exchanged fire with DERP, who ultimately dropped down into the pit here and had some of their overwatch. So then we had the fight down in the pit. We had a little bit of overwatch up top. And then we just had the massive firing line. And ultimately they moved up onto the rail bridge and was able to shoot down into the pit for the finish. So that's where the fight went down. Definitely an interesting place of the map. We haven't really seen a lot of battles going down in the D2 area, but it is, of course, a very viable place and a good response by DERP to get there, but just needed to seal the deal and get some more of that focus fire downfield. I think they could have done a little bit better, but well played by both teams, and of course, this one goes to Narc the Sun. Very fun, close match. Good stuff. So we'll be heading into Drop 3 shortly, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying the show so far. We'll see you in a little bit. That last thing was a replay, by the way, so I'm going to be playing random videos and replays and stuff as we go. I just didn't have the thing saying replay at the bottom of the screen or anything, so I'll try and get that up there. But we'll see you guys in a little bit.